Hey guys, what's up? It's Fern. I hope that you are all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me for another Planty video. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite topic, philodendrons. Am I obsessed? Yes. I thought it'd be fun to do a little hardest philodendron versus easiest philodendron in my collection. So I've picked 3 that I have ranked as, in my opinion, I've ranked them as having been the hardest to grow, and then on the other side of the scale, I have picked 3 that I have found to be the easiest to grow. Picking the easy ones was a lot easier. For some reason, the hard ones, I think it's because there can be so many different things that make a plant hard, and a lot of it is like unique to each person's environment. So I tried to choose plants that I've had like the most trouble growing in general, I guess. But a lot of the times, if you can provide the right conditions and just like figure out what the plant wants, then most philodendron are pretty easygoing in my opinion. Of course, there are some of the more like high-end, uncommon, exotic ones that can be a little bit more tricky. But for the most part, I feel like it's a pretty adaptable and easygoing genus. I'll take any excuse I can to talk about philodendron, won't I? Before we hop into the philodendron, I don't know why, sometimes I just really like to say it like that. Is that weird? Before we hop into the philodendron, we do have a sponsor for today's video, which is amazing, and that sponsor is Harry's. I don't know about you guys, but I have definitely been victimized by awful, cheapy razors. And I've also been victimized by having to pay a fortune for one that won't cause a massacre in the shower. If you can relate, fret not. Harry's is here to save the day. Harry's offers high-quality, German-engineered razors at an affordable price. I love that Harry's is unisex because you're not paying the markup for a product that is marketed towards women. Honestly, what a scam. And we all know the men's ones work better. Besides being an absolute dream to shave with, Harry's is convenient. They offer razor refills delivered directly to your door. They also give 1% of their global sales to nonprofit organizations. And they have a 100% quality guarantee, so you can get your money back if you don't like them. I'm just happy to have a razor that feels good, it works well, it provides a really comfortable shave. I'm going to be using this all summer long. I also have the shave gel, which is made out of gentle ingredients that are kind to your skin, and it is, of course, cruelty-free. In their starter set, you'll get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, a blade cover, and the foaming shave gel. You can redeem your starter set for only $3 if you click the link down below in the description, which is an insane deal. Thank you so much to Harry's for sponsoring this segment in the video, and let's get into our plants. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start out with the easiest ones just because, I don't know, positive vibes. Okay, so the top easiest philodendron was so easy for me to choose because this is honestly the hardiest plant that I have like ever grown. And it is none other than my philodendron Bilieae. Oh my goodness, I have not showed her in a while. I need to back it up to even fit her on the screen. Look at this newest leaf, that's so pretty. Oh my goodness, wait, this is so nice. I feel like I haven't fully appreciated this new leaf yet. Wow, that's just gorgeous. Oh my goodness, I love this plant so much. Hello? So this one was a no-brainer for me. This is genuinely the easiest philodendron I've ever grown. No matter what conditions I give it, no matter what type of lighting, no matter how often I water it, I have let this thing get so bone dry before. Like, any other plant would have croaked, but this thing is just, it didn't even wilt. Like, it's just so hardy. It does have like quite a thick feeling leaf, and the petioles are massive. Oh my goodness. Oh, this plant does kind of like get pretty wild when it grows. Like, it really just kind of sticks out every which way. But look at how big the petioles are. Like, oh my goodness, that is so crazy. So I don't know if he be like storing a lot of water in there or something. I have no idea. I'm not going to pretend I'm a botanist here, but something about this plant is just like literally so tolerant and so easy. It just, all it does is love me no matter what I do. And oh my goodness, okay, we're going to peel this off together because I love peeling this sheath thing off. Oh, it's so satisfying. Oh my gosh. Oh, nice. I love doing that, honestly, like peeling anything off of my plants. If that could be my full-time job, I would take it. Nice. Okay, so that's going to be a new little cataphyll situation where the new leaf is going to come from, although this leaf is still basically hardening off. This is definitely the biggest one I've gotten so far on this plant. I don't know what I'm gonna do with him. Also, something else that I really like about Philodendron billietiae, and something that I feel makes it pretty easy to grow, is that I mean, I guess this isn't gonna make it like the easiest to propagate, but just like for growing, the internodal spacing is quite tight. If you can see there, like this plant has quite a few leaves and the stem is only like this tall. So I haven't had to put it on a pole or anything like that, and it's still sizing up and just, it's still very happy. I should put some sort of support here just because it is like leaning a little bit, but I feel like it doesn't necessarily need to root into a moss pole. Like some other philodendrons really need that to provide stability and to help them to size up and to grow well. But I feel like this guy, he's just living his best life even without one, so just really does not demand a lot from you. And of course, he's just got like this classic kind of shiny, thick leaf, so he's not fussed about humidity or anything like that. I feel like this plant is another underrated one, honestly. Like I do see some people post about them, mostly when they're like really big and impressive, but I really just don't feel like people talk about this plant or post about this plant as much as they should be. Maybe just, I don't know, I feel like this is like kind of a common plant. Like I feel like a lot of people have ones, but maybe people don't, and that's why I don't see them that much. Or maybe people are just bored of this like classic leaf, but I'm just so impressed and in awe of this plant that I don't think I'll ever get bored of it. I cannot wait to grow this out even more. Honestly, I don't appreciate this plant as much as I should. Why do I not? Like, it's so great. I'm glad that I'm featuring it right now in this video. Okay, I'll show it to you one last time. Look at all those leaves. Maybe I'll take a thumbnail with this guy. Oh boy, how am I gonna do that? How am I gonna do that? I wanna get as many leaves in as possible. Okay, so my second place goes to my philodendron painted lady. Oh my goodness. Okay, I need to move. I put this in medium here to like be cute, but I need to move it back. Hopefully that doesn't fall over. Okay, yes, my philodendron painted lady. If you have been here on my channel for a while, then y'all know this plant has just grown like a beast for me. I've had her for about a year and a half now at this point, and I just started her from it was either 1 or 2 leaf cutting that I rooted, and now it is this full massive plant. I have recently taken her out of the well, not even recently, like a couple months ago now, I took her out of the greenhouse cabinet and she did not even flinch. She did not miss a beat, unlike some of my other philodendrons that are trying to croak on me after taking them out. Yeah, she's thriving. She looks amazing, is almost at the top of her moss pole, so I'm gonna have to add an extension for her. But yeah, this plant is just, it's so easy. It's honestly kind of similar to the Bilieae, where whatever conditions I give it, she just kind of adapts and finds a way to thrive. I just think that she's so pretty too. This video is not like a beauty competition. It's more just based on which plants are easy or hard to care for, but oh my goodness, I'm obsessed. For some reason, this plant is underrated and people don't really go for it as much as like philodendrons that have other types of variegation, but this like modeling painted variegation, I just think it's so pretty. It's really unique. Like you don't really see anything like this, especially in combination with the pink petioles. Like, oh my goodness, she is just stunning. Similarly to the Billie, she does not wilt if I miss a watering. She does not really fuss about anything. Like she's just very hardy, very tough. I haven't propagated either of these plants actually, so I wonder what that would be like. I'm really focused on just growing them out. She did put off an offshoot, so I have another baby plant. I actually have a whole second plant growing up a separate vine. As you can see, she does have a moss pole, and I feel like it has really helped her grow. She's been really happy and just has like rooted like crazy into it. Like this is one of my best rooters when it comes to climbing a moss pole. Like she really just has roots everywhere, so I would suggest that you grow this plant climbing something. I've put it on a moss pole when it was still pretty small, so I don't really have any experience not poling it, but yeah, she's just been super hardy for me. I also did want to give an honorable mention to the philodendron lemon lime, or I think it might be called the green goddess. I know Costa Farms released them and I think it was calling it the green goddess or something like that. But that plant, it's honestly kind of similar to this one. I found in like care and hardiness, like mine grew so fast. It was super easy care, and honestly it was like pretty similar to this plant, just not a variegated plant. It was just like that light lime color, and I think it has the pink petioles too. I don't remember. I used to have one and unfortunately I don't have it anymore, but yeah, that was an amazing plant to grow as well. Okay, so lastly, I did want to throw in more of a velvety type philodendron. So I picked the one that I felt has been the easiest grower out of all my velvet type philodendrons, which can be more difficult. And this is the one that I chose. It is my Philodendron glorious. I hope this isn't cheating. I have not had this plant for that long. I've had it since September, so what is that, like 7 or 8 months now? And I did chop mine up. I grew it out and then I chopped it all up, and it's very well rooted. I need to pot this up actually. I'm just waiting until I can sit down and film it because I want to pot it up with you guys. But it has propagated amazing. This plant, honestly, it blows my mind just how easy this plant was to grow, especially because this is crossed with melanochrysum. So the glorious is Philodendron gloriosum, crossed with Philodendron melanochrysum, and we're going to talk about melanochrysum later in this video, so stay tuned. But yeah, this is just like such an easy, what's the word? Not option. Alternative, such an easy alternative to melanochrysum. Something about hybrids, like they take the best traits from each parent and it just makes them so much more adaptable and easy to care for. In my experience, like all of my philodendron hybrids have been really chill. My McDowell, as I was considering putting it on the easiest list here because that plant just keeps growing even though I neglected it for a while and give it like minimal care. But yeah, Philodendron glorious. First of all, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. I know I said this video is not based on what the plants look like, but this is literally so pretty. It gets the red edging from the gloriosum. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but in person, this is just like the most beautiful, beautiful leaf. I've been growing this from a very small plant and I was honestly just like shocked at how quickly the leaves were sizing up. And like I said, I chopped this up, I've propagated it, and it put out this new leaf while in propagation, which normally when my plants are trying to put out a new leaf when they're being propagated, especially in water, normally that leaf doesn't make it, it dies. But this one is like fully ready to unfurl into a brand new leaf. So I'm quite shocked that it's growing so well in this water. Yeah, this is one that I am going to put it on a pole, I think, but I've seen people just stake theirs and grow them just fine that way. Like it doesn't necessarily need to be actually rooted right into moss or anything like that. I honestly just feel like this is such a tolerant plant, and I feel like it's a really great option if you want something that's going to be a little bit less high maintenance than the like purebred. That sounds really weird, but like the regular philodendrons, like compared to anything like Milano or verrucosum, or I mean gloriosum is pretty easy, but I have had some difficulties with mine if it's not in a greenhouse condition. So this has just been rooting out in my bedroom, and yeah, it's still doing the most. So I will be growing this outside of my cabinet and I will let you guys know how that goes, but I really just get the vibe that this is going to be a great grower. Yeah, just wanted to give an option of something that's a little bit more uncommon and has more of that like velvety leaf look. Okay, so now we are moving on to the philodendron that I found the hardest to grow, and the first one I do not have because I don't have mine anymore, but I just had to put it on this list because I feel like this is like notoriously a difficult philodendron for people to grow. Like if you have not struggled with this plant, then who are you and what are your secrets? But it is none other than the Philodendron Pink Princess. Yes, I'm sure none of us are surprised. For some reason, this plant is like the hardest thing in the world to get it to actually produce nice variegation. And okay, take everything I say with a grain of salt because obviously it's my experience, but this is something that I hear so many people say. And yes, there are people who are able to grow their pink princesses out beautiful. And I'm very jealous of that. I do not know how people do it. I'm leaning towards the theory that it depends on the plant's genetics, and I don't know, I've heard some people say like it depends on how many times it's been propagated and like crazy things like that. But I think sometimes it's just genetics or luck or I don't know, whatever secret these people are doing. But for the majority of us, these can be such a struggle to grow. Mine was such a tease. It would give me just like the ugly maroon leaves, and then every like fifth leaf I would get like this little chunk of pink variegation, and I was like, oh my goodness, and I'd be so hopeful, but then it would just continue like giving me ugly leaves again after that, and then I'd get like a little fleck, and it's just like, it was an emotional roller coaster, let me tell you. Yeah, not quite sure what the secret is to these. They're also very difficult to actually grow, to just have like a nice leaf shape and to size up and to just like look nice in general. These are notorious for doing the inchworm philodendron leaf thing, like they get stuck and won't come out of the sheath, which is such a hassle. Definitely not good for me because I cannot help going in there with the tweezers. I really can't help myself, but that would happen to mine all the time, and if I didn't rescue it, the leaf would just choke itself out and break off, so it was just hard to get like a nice looking plant out of it. Yeah, it was just quite the gong show when I was trying to grow mine, and then I eventually just sold it for like $20 or something because I just didn't want to grow it anymore. I wanted to get rid of it, and in my opinion, they just aren't really worth that much unless they're like a really beautiful specimen. So yeah, if you've grown one successfully and you have all of the hot tips and secrets, then leave a comment down below and let us all in. Let us all know how we can grow a beautiful pink princess philodendron. It is a plant that I definitely envy when people do have a beautiful specimen, because I think that they are gorgeous when they're like, you know, in their prime looking good, but it's just that most of the time they look kind of shite. So yeah, that's all I have to say on that. Okay, next we are going to talk about a plant that I have a love-hate relationship with, and it is my philodendron melanochrysum, of course. I said we were going to talk about it later, so here we go. Let's just hop right into it. Yeah, so as you can see, mine's actually grown quite a bit. Like, I'm pretty impressed with myself. It's, you know, it's almost at the top of the moss pole. I recently took it out of the Mills boat cabinet because it was getting so close to the top of the light, and these dark velvety leaves, they do not like being scorched by light. They will bleach, they will get, I think there's one that has a little bit of damage, they will get like this kind of bleaching look to them, if you can see there, or sometimes it looks a little bit more orange. Yeah, basically they do not want to be scorched by the sun or by a grow light, so I had to move it out of the cabinet just because it's getting too tall. So that's going to be interesting, growing it outside the cabinet. It's only been out for this week, so I've had a bit of a journey with Philodendron melanochrysum, and my opinion has changed on it a little bit. I used to classify this as one of my easiest plants to grow because, I don't know, when I first got it, I just grew it as a single vine and it grew straight up the moss pole. I didn't have it in a cabinet or anything. I did have it near a humidifier though at the time and grow light, so it was in a controlled environment. But it wasn't fussy, it just grew straight up the moss pole, and then once it got to the top, I propagated it all, and that's where it has some larger, I mean, they're not massive, but the leaves are a bit larger at the bottom because those are the cuttings that I propagated and then planted into this pot, and that's where everything else has come from. So I obviously have like multiple plants growing in here right now. So at that time, I felt like, wow, everyone's saying melanochrysum is so hard and mine has been super easy. Like, I haven't really had any problems with it. Fast forward to now, I've had this plant for much longer. We've been on a little bit of a journey, especially with the propagating and the growing out this like more full plant here. And I have started to experience some of the problems that people have complained about. One of the big ones that people complain about with melanochrysum is the leaves getting stuck. Like I was saying, the inchworm thing, they get stuck in the petiole or the sheath or whatever, which mine isn't really doing it right now. So I don't really have anything to show. Mine actually looks not bad right now. But I have started experiencing that. I had like, oh my goodness, I had probably 3 that were stuck, and then the leaves just come out damaged, and it's just really frustrating. I have had to chop off a couple of leaves because they would just come out so damaged. So this plant definitely needs higher humidity if you want the leaves to come out nice and pristine. You'll want to keep this in like some sort of greenhouse condition. Like I said, I'm growing it outside of a cabinet now, and I don't really know what I'm gonna do. Like maybe mist it often to keep that lubrication going when a new leaf is coming in. I'm not really sure. It's all experimental at this point for me. But one of the most difficult, like the leaves getting stuck, that sucks. But one of the most frustrating aspects of growing this plant for me is just that the leaves are so hard to size up. And everyone sees those large, massive melanochrysum leaves like on Instagram. And it just seems so unattainable when you're growing it in a home environment. Like, it's definitely different if you're, you know, in a greenhouse or in Indonesia or something. But for most of us, it's quite a struggle. And I've heard many people say this, so I know it's not just mine. But usually by the time a plant is growing from the bottom of the pole to the top, I start to see some pretty decent, like, sizing up of leaves with most of my plants. But this, like, I mean, yeah, this is like the biggest leaf I have that's growing on the pole, and look how small that is. Like, that is not an impressive leaf size by any stretch of the imagination. So it does kind of bum me out that it just like does not seem to want to size up for me. I mean, the leaves are really pretty, but I just really want them to size up. Oh, it is really pretty. Look at that, like, velvety sheen. Oh my goodness, it's such a gorgeous plant. It's honestly, this was one of the first like rare plants that I purchased, and I remember, well, maybe not one of the first, but it was in like my first year of plant collecting, I think, and it was just so exciting for me. And I remember I was so nervous about it, but then it started growing well for me, so I was like, oh my goodness, like, this is growing so easily. But now I'm seeing some of the struggles. Again, if you have any tips to grow melanochrysum, specifically to size up the leaves, I'm really working on keeping my moss poles moist, which I'm doing a pretty darn good job of, I think. So I'm keeping the moss poles moist, so I am having my plants like growing into a lot more. You can see there's some roots happening here growing into the moss pole. So I think that that's going to help to just like provide extra moisture and nutrients and hopefully get some larger growth up above. But yeah, if you have any tips, feel free to share them. Okay, so on to the last one. Now this one, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to categorize it as hard because I have had a really easy time growing it, but I have started experiencing some problems, and I have also heard other people experiencing problems with this plant, so I thought that that was enough to put it on the list. But it is my Philodendron Florida Beauty. Oh my goodness, she's so beautiful. Look at this leaf. This is my favorite. Like, that is so, so pretty. Undeniably a very beautiful plant, a very coveted plant. And like I said, I've had a relatively okay time growing this plant, but I have had a few things happen that have made it more challenging for me. Now, one of the things that can make this plant difficult and that a lot of people worry about when purchasing this plant is reversion. The Philodendron Florida Beauty does have a pretty high risk of reversion, and by reversion I mean the plant has a high risk of starting to grow either completely green or completely variegated, which I do have some leaves that are coming out like completely just this light green kind of color, which is a little bit concerning because I do have a couple of them coming out. I don't worry about this type of thing until I get 2 in a row, and this is only 1 on each stem. I do have multiple plants potted in here. This one looks like it's all light green as well coming in on this one. So that means all the cuttings in this plant, the first new leaf they're putting out in this soil, is going to be completely solid. That's so weird. I have no idea why it's doing that. But reversion is definitely something that can make these trickier. You might have to be like chopping this plant up if that's something that's happening, or I don't know how much conditions really affect it. I've heard it debated before whether lighting actually affects variegation or not. Some people think that it's more just the plant's genetics or like fertilizer and things like that. So you might be able to like toy with some things to see if you can change it, but in most circumstances, if your plant is reverting, then you have to chop it back to the variegated node. The second reason that I put this plant as being a little bit more difficult is just because the variegated parts I have found can be a little bit sensitive and prone to browning, which is something that happens on other variegated plants like the Albo monstera. If it has anything that has large sectoral variegation, it can brown. But yeah, as you can see here, like I just have some damage on the leaves, and I found that this plant was like, this is just kind of like not looking its best. I found that this plant was super sensitive to the pest spray that I was using on all my plants when I was having my thrips outbreak. This was the only plant that I got a negative reaction from, but it like basically completely scorched the leaves, and that's why I ended up chopping this plant back and growing it back out now as multiple cuttings in here. And I was just so disheartened by that because I've sprayed that on basically all my other plants, including variegated plants, and I've never, even my variegated Adansonii, I've sprayed that and it was completely fine. But this, for some reason, it was just so dramatic. And I don't know what that's about, but yeah, that was definitely something that I just found to be a little bit of a challenge because I was like, okay, great, now like half the leaves on this plant are ruined and I have to propagate it. That's what I chose to do just because whatever. But yeah, so that's another reason. And then the last reason that I decided to put this plant as difficult is because I've heard that this can be very hard to propagate. Now, lucky for me, I already had some roots to start off with because this was rooted into a moss pole. So I had some roots that had grown into the sphagnum. So lucky for me, I had a little bit of roots to start with, and this propagated relatively easy for me. But I have heard some people say that these are nearly impossible to propagate, and cautioning people to not purchase unrooted cuttings because they can be very difficult. So that's definitely something, like if a plant is really hard to propagate, that's just something that I'm always a little bit wary of when buying it, especially because something like this is often an investment plant where people want to be able to sell a cutting or two to make some of their money back, which fair enough. I do have a couple of wet sticks propagating of this, and I have not had any growth from them yet, so I'll definitely let you guys know if I do get growth from them. It would be so awesome to have little Florida Beauty babies. So my fingers are crossed for that. But yeah, this is my third difficult philodendron. All right, that is going to be it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed this little planty, chatty moment with me today. Also, if you're looking for an awesome, high quality and affordable razor, don't forget to check out the link down below for Harry's. You can get your starter set for just $3 clicking the link down below, which is freaking amazing. And did I mention the handle is made of 50% recycled plastic? Love it. Okay, thank you guys so much. Don't forget to give, why can I never say this at the end? It's like I'm so tongue twisted from talking for the past like 45 minutes that I can't even speak anymore. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. That really helps me out. Also, make sure you are subscribed for more planty content. A lot of people watch my videos who aren't subscribed, so please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. And I can't wait to chat with you in the comments. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Bye!